Hi, thank you so much for tuning in and asking me lots of questions that I have no idea if I can answer, but I will do my best. Firstly, to Karen Alexander, who asks, out of all the songs you've written, which would you like to be remembered for? Gosh, I mean, when you've written a couple of thousand songs, it's hard to think of one specifically, but I guess it would have to be Breath of Heaven, which I wrote in the early 90s, and I guess it was one of those songs that actually wrote itself, and in some ways I feel it's kind of have most effect. In some ways I feel like God kind of gave it to me as a gift, and it was difficult to write in one sense because I had to get to a certain place in my own heart for it to actually be a channel, if you like, for God to actually give me that song. So it has been used in many ways and in different forms, and a lot of artists have recorded it over the years, which has been a real privilege for me. So I would say Breath of Heaven is right up there, and I would love to be remembered for that one. David Waters says, what do you say to those who say hymns should only be sung to one particular tune? Well, I say boo or poppycock, because I love don't laugh, no, it's true, because I don't, you know, it's so important when you're a songwriter to look into lyrics and to try and find ways that they move you. And if a song moves you to a certain point where you need to write a melody that paints the right picture, then that has to be what you should do. And for me, I agree that there are some hymn tunes of old classic hymns that it would be sacrilege to mess with, and I've looked at a lot of them and not touched them. But also there are songs, hymns, great hymns like Jesus, Lover of My Soul, and the original tune I honestly found to be a bit of a dirge, and Jesus, Lover of My Soul, it certainly never got to me because of the melody. And then when I actually started rediscovering the depth and the meaning of early Charles Wesley hymns, and I looked at that lyric, it moved me so much and got me so excited about how real it was. I had to get onto the piano and write something new that took it to that place that I felt, so that all along in the song it just kind of builds to the point where when those lyrics come, musically it matches the passion of the lyric. So Dave, you're right to get me to say something about that, because I do believe for all of us that we're living in a world where we need new experiences of God through music that are going to wake us up to the reality of the fact that he's crazy about us and he loves us. And hymns are a great way of rejoicing in that worship, and not simply moving with a modern worship, but actually marrying the two. So we get generations together, we get truths that marry, and we all end up hopefully in a better place for it. Rachel Issit, thank you for your question. Who is your favourite artist to work with and why? Very easy. I've been very fortunate and blessed to work with a lot of amazing artists over the years, but my favourite by far is my dear friend Amy Grant, who is from Nashville, Tennessee. And Amy is an absolute sweetheart, a genius musician, a wonderful mother and friend. And when we've toured together, we've always had a lot of fun, but it's always been a very high professional standard, and which, you know, it kind of needs to be when you're doing that kind of a profile tour. But unlike some other tours that I've done where they've been quite restrictive, Amy has always been incredibly free with the musicians that she's worked with, and she allows us to get away with murder on stage as long as we're playing the right notes and having fun. And so for me, it's got to be Amy Grant. I've always had a blast with her, and I hope there'll never be a time in my life when I can't tour with her. On this particular occasion, the last but not least question is from Sarah Sizer, who I believe is from Down Under. And she asks me which musicians and singer-songwriters have influenced and been the inspiration to your music. Gosh, there have been so many. And when I look back to really how in the early days of my writing, it's got to be Yes, the band Yes. I was a big progressive rock fan, and I love the lyrics that they used. I love the vocal performances of John Anderson. All of musicianship was incredibly innovative and also very melodic, and melodies are a huge thing to me. I love to be moved by great kind of lilting melodies, and Yes were the first band to ever really do that for me. Since then, I think singer-songwriters like Billy Joel have been a massive influence. I think Billy Joel's an incredible piano player and a poet of his generation, and that's obviously a long time ago. But then right up to the new generation, you know, I love to listen to new artists and new bands. I love to be inspired by groove as well, and not just melody and lyrics. And there's a new band called Clean Bandit, who I love to listen to, and I love their grooves. I love the sense of lightness and authenticity to their music. It's like if they're actually communicating a lyric, then they paint the lyric within a picture that allows you to understand it and get the honesty from it. So that's really important to me as well. I guess there are other people I can't think immediately. I mean, there's Stevie Wonder. Some of my favourite bands who've influenced my chord changes. Stephen Bishop from the early days. I mean, all of these are names that I guess were most influential in my life when I was a teenager. And that's at the point where you're the biggest sponge and you're taking everything in. I love classical music, and I love thematic, cinematic music as well. I love to listen to movie themes that have got that kind of quality and depth, such as Braveheart, definitely one of my favourites. But who else? I mean, there's so many when I get to think about it. Stevie Wonder, Hall and Oates. How can I not mention Daryl Hall and John Oates? And in terms of my first album, Vision, if you listen to tracks like This Is For Real, very, very heavily influenced by Daryl Hall, and again the sort of the freedom of their rhythms and their grooves, along with the melodies, just always kind of struck me as being incredibly pop and just very, very influential in my life. Thank you so much for all your questions. Every so often on the Black Piano Diaries, we're going to be doing a Q&A video, so please keep your eyes peeled and send in the questions as often as you like, and Abby and myself will be only too happy to answer them. Have a great day.